All right, I think the shielding is ready for us to reassemble this Telecaster. You saw me with this before in the Fender Day video, and before that when we did some new wiring changes to make those mojo tones a little less piercing. But the mojo tones did not make the cut. Some Lollars are going in, so I was shielding this. And last time we looked at this, I had 3 coats on, and after 3 coats, I had 1.5K within each cavity, but 10K from here to here, and 20K or 22K from here to here. And that's not enough, so I thought, I've got to be doing something wrong. 3 coats should get much better than that. And so, though I'd been shaking and shaking and shaking this conductive paint from Stu Mac, when I opened it up and explored inside, which sounds gross because it kind of was, using a stick, I found that there was like a layer of peanut butter at the bottom, and all the particulate stuff was just in a sludgy layer at the bottom. So all the shaking in the world hadn't done much. So I spent about 20 minutes stirring it all up until all the peanut butter lumps were gone. And then I sealed it back up, and I shook and I shook and I shook and I shook and I shook. You know, in a pro shop, they'd probably have a paint shaker where that's not an issue. But after doing that, I got much better coating, and I did 2 more coats after that. And let's see where we're at as far as conductivity now. Within this cavity, we have 40 ohms, 51, 36, and just about 30. And from cavity to cavity, 125 ohms, 106 ohms, 132, 115. Now, copper foil shielding is a pain in the butt to do, but it does give you actual perfect ground. So if I had done copper for this, it would have taken a while, but we'd have 0 ohms everywhere. But we don't need to have perfect ground to have a good shield. As long as it's under 200 ohms, we should be good to go. And this is good enough that I don't think I need to do the wire from cavity to cavity, which just gets complicated, especially in the Tele control route where it's pretty much shallow. You can't get into any wood there. And the holes from here to here and here to here and here to here aren't that big, so adding a 3rd wire can be problematic. So I think we'll be okay. Let's get the neck pickup installed. I'm going to twist these together. Not only does it make them have less chance of pulling out here and makes it a nicer layout, but the twisting kind of adds additional noise rejection. When this is back in place with the control plate, the pick guard will also have shielding. So I'm going to save you the next minute or 2 of my time. All right, that's enough to get me into the cavity and have it shielded. So it occurs to me that inevitably someone will ask how I got the shielding paint in these holes from here to here and here to here and here to here. And the very fancy high-tech answer is a Q-tip. All right, I've got both screws started and no excess wiring underneath to throw it off. All the wires pulled out that way. And I'll just start getting this in a first starting point where I know it's going to be beneath the strings. I don't want the strings contacting it, but I don't need to get it perfect right now. All right, I already had the Lolllar pickup installed to the bridge with the supplied springs, but I used the old flathead screws that the owner already had. I loathe flathead screws, but all the screws in this damn Tele are flatheads, so I guess they'll stay there. Now, technically, the bridge is tied to the Tele base plate by these metal screws. And so the ground of the bridge pickup also grounds the bridge. But this guitar came with a bridge ground wire, and it will do no harm to have 2 connections from here to there. It won't cause a loop in this case. And just in case one of those screws were ever to oxidize, this is probably for the best. But as a rule, Tele bridges usually just ground through the pickup wire. Now, they have it in a little slot here where it had compressed into the wood. So I'm putting it back just to the side of the old slot, which was here, just to make sure we have good contact between the bridge and that wire. And it's time to put the bridge screws back. and I will pay attention to how they're going in. If I feel any real resistance, I'll stop and go find a candle and put a little bit of wax on there. You can use straight paraffin, beeswax combinations, but these have been in here before and they didn't seem to have any problems, so I'm going to see if they'll just go right in. I'm not feeling any problems with it other than stupid flathead screws, so I can't use my power tools. I would never use a power tool to do the final tension on one of these, but it sure can save a lot of time zipping down, and I just don't trust flathead bits for things like this near a guitar finish. You may not have the best angle here. Sorry, I know it's exciting watching someone put screws in. And I'm letting the two outer ones align the bridge, assuming that it was correctly installed the first time. This should all line itself back up properly. Of course, this bridge was never tight as it came to the owner, and I was the one to fully tighten it to the body, so I may have to recheck the string alignment once everything is put back together. Okay, there is a guide. They have Phillips heads here, so I'm going to move them roughly to where they should be. And I like to use a long screwdriver, so I'm not going to have a chance of hitting the finish. When first doing something like this and the intonation has not been set, with most electrics, let alone a Tele, it's better to start with the bridge piece, the saddles too far back, and then slide them forward, in which case you put the strings on and all the notes would be a little bit flat at the 12th, in which case you move the saddle towards the nut. That way, if there's any little kink put in the string at the point where it contacts the saddle, as you intonate it, that kink moves behind the saddle rather than in front of. So the active portion of the string from the witness point here to the witness point at the nut doesn't have any kink in it. And after the first string change, after that, it's less of an issue. But when first setting things up, if I were to have this saddle here, put strings on it, and then move it back because all the notes would be way too sharp, there's a chance that I would have a little kink from where that first witness point was made. And then that kink would be in the playing portion of the string and throws tuning and intonation out the window. So I know that at least these two saddles are much farther back than they will be. And this one's probably a little bit farther back than it will be. I'm going to move it just a bit more. All right, I'm going to get another cup of coffee and then rewire all this back. And this is exactly the same as you saw in the previous video where I did the wiring initially. I'm just going to change which pickups are connected to it. Well, it's all wired up and it's sounding good, but I'm still waiting for the shielding material from StewMac to arrive to put on the back of the pick guard so I can complete the shield. Once this has the metal foil on the back of it, it'll make contact here, here, and here and complete the shield. So that'll be in the next couple of days, hopefully tomorrow. Though with the post office these days, there's no way of knowing. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got some useful little tips and tricks along the way. And once again, thanks very much for watching.